pāi tō mātou matanui te rangi ki e tapu tōingo. He pāi e whakawheta ana mātou ki a koe mō tēnei wā, mō tō aroha tō manakitanga ki a mātou kua hui hui mai I tēnei ata I rungi te kaupapa nei. Arahi ti a mātou e koe I roto e nei mahi. Ko I hukaraiti tō mātou kai whakaora, āke, tonu āke, āmene. Kia ora mai tātou.
Kia ora tātou, mihi atu tēnei ki a tātou katoa anō, I roto tō tātou reo. Whai haere ngā tikanga I timata mai o tātou mātu tūpuna. No le runga tērā, mihi atu ki a koe te tūtahi e puhi. Ai whakatū te arapata ki te runga lau, a timatanga ngā me katoa. So we just open this time with a welcome and a greeting as following our cultural protocols that we've been practicing in this whare, in this house, in these chambers, established some years ago. So we acknowledge Puhi Rake for his karakia this morning. Mihi atu ki tō tātou kingi Māori, kingi Tuheitia, noho mai rā te ahuri o tapu o na mātu tūpuna. Tēnā whare kāhui are ki oti rā te whare kāhui whānui tonu, whai mara ki a rātou tau I ki a tātou katoa. So in Tauranga Mōna we acknowledge our Māori king, King Tuheitia, who resides upon the sacred throne of his ancestors, and in acknowledging him, we acknowledge his wider royal house, whole, and say peace and goodwill be upon them and upon us gathered here today in this hui, and also upon you that are tuned in, listening this morning. Nō reira, ai tikana me mihi atu ki a rātou ko ngaro atu, ko huri atu, o tātou tini aitua. E haere te au I te pō te au. Kare tāi te whakahuhu o rātou ingo katoa, tō rātou toko maha. Engari kei te tangi atu ki a rātou katoa. Ai ngā mate haere. And so, it's befitting that we acknowledge those that have passed on. And today we grieve again for them. We acknowledge them and that we are here in many ways because of what they have achieved in their time. But we continue to say to them, farewell, farewell, farewell. Hoki mai rā ngā mihi ki a tātou te ngora, ngā wahi o tanga iho. Mā mātou pē tutuki rā e te o ngā moi moi, kore ne tutuki nei e rātou tō rātou te wā. And so we come back and greet us, the living. Perhaps it's in our hands and our abilities that we might fulfill some of the dreams and aspirations that they had, that they did not bear fruit in their time. Nō reira, kāre kumi ka roi ngā kore, engari mihe ki a tātou katoa. Ko hara mai rā i te karanga o tēnei whare, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. So without prolonging anything further, we just acknowledge our gathering together in this house and say again, greetings, greetings, greetings. Kia ora tātou. Call for apologies. We have 3 tabled apologies thus far. Mayor Greg Brownless, Councillor Catherine Stewart, Hayden Henry. Any other additions?
Thank you. And kia ora, and also Councillor Leanne Brown, who doesn't sit on this committee but normally attends. She'd like to put her apologies in, please. Kia ora.
Thank you. Any further apologies? Somebody moved, somebody second that we accept that. Kia ora, Whitiora McLeod moved, seconded by Councillor Terry Malloy. Apologies tabled, be received and accepted. Next item is our public forum. We have a guest here today that wants to make a presentation. Her name is Rangi Māria Tamopiu Kingi, and so she has a presentation that she'd like to make to the Standing Committee. We give her that opportunity now in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Testing. So, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko rangi Māori ahau. I am a great descendant and great mokopuna of the kingitanga, the original kingitanga who was King Tāwhio and Te Whero his father. And I'm here today to bring a presentation. What brings me here today, I present my correspondence and a survey that has been completed of immigration and the Electoral Commission involved in what I call scheming. I'm here today because I feel that I've been called here as a result of Papa Tuanuku, our Mother Earth, Ranganui, Sky Father, Tāne Mahuta, and Tangaroa, and the call and the karanga from them is the mass amount of chemical being used by the government, the British government here in New Zealand, and our local councils. I'm here today because I feel that I've been called to come because of my whakapapa genealogy line to present some information to you. I run my Office of Lady Justice. I've been running that for the past 7 years now. It's a reporting station that goes locally, nationally and internationally, and I believe that it's been acknowledged by Obama and his visit to Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm called here today because of the cry from our people who have been made homeless unnecessarily. In no way should anyone in Aotearoa, in our beautiful country of Aotearoa, New Zealand, be made homeless. So how has this come about? This has come about as a result of the government in 2015, the National Party, Paula Bennett and Tolly and Bill English with the Treasury writing off a section of society that they've put out to sleep, so that through immigration, as per my survey completed, they are bringing in 100,000 immigrants, and even up to 500,000 is the plan, and our people are being put outside and evicted every week, and I get complaints to my office about this. I'd like to present my presentation about the whakataukia. The whakataukia or tāwhio, and this is about bringing a mantle of instructions and of leadership that was te tōtara, and it's to do with the Central North Island, to do with our history and the confiscations of Gate Pa and what happened in our history, and from my whānau and from my own personal life to be here today. So the whakataukia that I'd like to start with is ki te kahore he whakakitenga ka ngaro te iwi. For without a foresight or vision, the people will perish. And this is interpreted as we need a vision. What is our vision for Māori? First of all, we are the Indigenous Māori people of New Zealand, the First Nation people, and our vision and the instructions that came with that vision were that we were to katahi, number one, to retain our lands. Number two, to preserve our customary laws. And number three was to protect our Indigenous people, our lands, our resources. For whose use? Well, for our use first, as the people of the land, and for future generations. And aroha mai, we do welcome our people, our immigrant people, to come to Aotearoa. However, this is becoming out of control. So what this is interpreted as is kātahi, number one, our own law system. We had a law system already set in place. We had our own law system. We always had our own justice system of laws to bring order and justice, because we need a society of order. We need justice. How? using the common sense methods of understanding matters arising, and just it's practical when applying to meetings like this as we see the agendas. Matters arising are very important, and the order of these affairs to be discussed. Number 3, finding the balance in decision making to deliver a justice, to deliver decisions that are made for what? Well, for the good of our people, of course, for the protection of our people, our resources, and our lands. What can we see from this pattern? I'm a korowai maker. From my history, which has brought me here, I'm a pattern reader. It's moved me into reading patterns, tōrunga korowai. And the pattern that the entire justice system remains is an unused justice system that we have available. The law of Māori tikanga and kawa, which are our local laws, and balanced by national territorial area, the law of wakaminenga, the declaration of our independence, and it's coming through our news now. And the drive is for an understanding, a whakamaramatanga of the 1835, the declaration of our independence. Before Te Tiriti o Waitangi 1840, the partnership between the Crown, and I say that this partnership has long exhausted itself as we're seeing mass debt. The country is in a disaster, the court systems are in a disaster, and I receive emails from solicitors who are involved, and they're saying something's wrong with our country's entire court system. So this is talking about an alternate system I'm bringing to you today. So the coat of arms, so I'll carry on just through, which all the Queen Victoria, the coat of arms officers were established under this coat of arms symbol from the Treaty of Waitangi Partnership. We do not fit in to this partnership. Where is this partnership? Out in our communities, when we see mass homelessness, there is no partnership. So I'm going to carry on down next to the Reserve Bank, which was owned by who? And I noticed that this morning in your karakia that you said about King Tawhio, about this Māori king Tuheitia. Well, sorry, but the kingitanga did not start from Tuheitia Paki or Atairangi Kahu. It started long before them, and the Reserve Bank was originally owned, as we see, by King Tawhio, with the understanding that the mining that would take place for the gold, silver and copper extractions and for paper would create a financial system which we currently have now, a cash flow system. And it's more important that Māori have a lot more say into the controlling of the financial systems of this country, because we have a $500 billion debt now. Ka rua.
I just want to let you know that the amber light is on. You've got 2 minutes left. If you want to summarise or whatever.
Yes, kei te pai. I'll just carry on. So ka rua, to govern the affairs of the nation, we need a court justice system. We always had a system in place. We need a trading financial system. We always had these in place. However, we also had the cashless trading where we didn't need cash, so we can have that balance. So I'm talking about a plan here to protect our people, our land and our resources moving into the future, and this includes protecting our food supply. Our food supply is being stolen. For example, the Whakatohea Trust over by down at Whakatane, to do with the mussels being sent that are being processed here in Tauranga Moana, but they're being sent to Colombia. This is a prime example of an entire food chain that was going to come through Pack and Save to be sold locally, but it's being taken internationally. So the question is too, and what it looks like is that the Māori Land Court and these Māori Trust Boards are at an end of an era, and this is what I will be driving as part of my campaign for the council this year, standing for the mayoral position and for the Rotorua mayoral positions, to take a stand that I believe that these Māori Land Court and Māori Trust Boards are at an outdated era, and we're at a time of change now. And it's a good change that we should be welcoming, and we need to correct the affairs of New Zealand systems, the court system and the media. The work of the media has been unacceptable. suppressing mass amounts of information because the media offices are 90% European, Pākehā owned and employed. And we have had to fit into this. So what, and this is what my office has led to. I'm going to carry on down through this, that I believe too that the Gate Pā and Rangitapu had to change her name. She had to survive.
I'm going to give you one more minute because your time's up. But
Kei te pai, I'm going to conclude now.
Thank you.
Conclude now. I just want to present the information that I have to you today. The survey, I'm moving into surveying. With or without your support, or with or without our people's support, I will gain the support from the people in the community that need to hear from me. The documentation stands as it is, whereas, including the correspondence to dismiss John Key and dismiss Jacinda Ardern. We need a new government, and we need to move in a new direction. So, kei te pai, ka mutu.
Thank you very much.
Ka mutu, and thank you very much for your time.
Well, we acknowledge you for taking the opportunity to be in this public forum. And obviously what you've got is on your heart, and that'll be a challenge when you start promoting yourself for mayor and councillor here. As you said, some of the figures you gave, 90% of the population is not Maori, so I wish you all the best. But you believe what you're doing, and then you continue to pursue it. You know that our tūpuna te paia said, "Paia te te kahurangi, me tūho koe, aha mehe maunga teite." So like our ancestor Tupaia, Mai Tauranga, said when he was offered the kingitanga, part of his kōrero was pursue that which you desire. And if you should have to bow down, let it be to a lofty mountain.
Aye.
So thank you very much for your presentation, and wish you all the best for your future. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Okay, brief chair report. Just a little update. So just go back to December the 1st, 2018, where we had a very important hui here in Tauranga Mona, up at Te Papa, where the Anglican Church came to Tauranga, totally supported and endorsed by the congregations throughout Aotearoa, to bring an apology to o Taumataha Trust, Leimi Ngai Tamarawaho and Ngāti Tapu. So it was an important hui. We want to acknowledge the support that the council gave, and the apology is just a start. It's a bit like the government apologies they give when they give us the treaty settlement. Well, okay, what does that mean in hands and legs and feet, and something tangible that we can see? And so that's what will probably be the next step in that journey. And if those that were there, we saw that there's still some issues we have to sort out amongst ourselves. But I'm sure we can resolve that in due time. And I just want to say that it was a great day despite the weather. It was a really tremendous day, and for all those that came out and supported it in that weather, and we want to support, acknowledge the support of many of our European whānau friends. They came along to Tautoho o Taumataha Trust. So again, look forward to seeing what might happen in the future. I'm sure somewhere along the line, whatever form that apology is worked out, that the council will have some relationship in that process. So to the council again, we want to just acknowledge that to you, Councillor Clout, on behalf of the Mayor. Just pass it on to him from us. Tangata Whenua. Of course, last week we also had an important occasion. Was it last week? Anyway, the opening of the campus here for the Waikato University, and the number of students that's bringing in, and of course that affects the economy and all sorts of things, and also probably affects our roading issues that we have at the moment, unless all those students are required to have e-scooters or something like that. But we've got enough problems on our roads now. I'm sure Terry knows a little bit about roads when he's driving through him and Larry through Greerton, and all those people jumping up and down. And I'm one of them as well, jumping up and down. I said, whose great idea was this to change the road system like this was fine before. They said it was for the safety of people. I thought, well, here I am, 70 plus, I can get around that place, no problem with that, knocking any cars over, so I don't know what the big issue was. Looked like a lot of wasted money, but there's other people that are answerable for that, and I'm no doubt about it. The Waikato University is going to be a positive for Tauranga Mona and for the council and for the community at large. The other issue I want to mention is the Treaty of Waitangi, an update on that. So in April, it's a delegation, well, we have an urgent Waitangi Tribunal hearing down in Wellington, and we're challenging the government and that they preempted an outcome that hadn't been completed in terms of the discussions that took place. So in a sense, they put Hauraki into an enviable position by agreeing that they had some mana in Tauranga Mora when that hadn't been finalised with the Tangata whenua to say, oh, who gave you the right to give them the mana in Tauranga Mora? So we're not going on our own, we are going with Tainui, Ngāti Whātua, Te Arawa, and a little small group up there in Hauraki called Ngāti Parauki Hauraki, led by the mayoral candidate for Auckland, JT, John Tamahere, who's been kicked out of the Labour Party by the looks of it. They want his $100. Might be able to support you, Rangi Maria. But so that's an ongoing challenge as well. And somebody did mention that they'd been over to Waikato and to their regional council there and saw a copy of the treaty on the wall. So there might be an idea to have something here, but before we do put one up, we better make sure that we know what the articles say. We're going to be caught out like the Prime Minister. So I'm sure the CEO here will make sure that every councillor and every staff member knows what Article 1 of the treaty is. And so it's an ongoing process, this treaty thing, and it's very divisive. It's a very divisive process, and well, I think you gentlemen in local politics, so you know what politics are all about, what happens before and what happens behind the scenes, and so many things are happening like that. So that's a brief update on where the treaty is, so look forward to the space after April to see what's happened. So that's my free update. We have no late items. No changes to the order of business. So we just want a confirmation of the minutes of the 13th of December 2018. No doubt you've all read them and studied them and acknowledge that they are true and accurate records. So if somebody wants to move that way, somebody second it. Moved by Puhirake, seconded by Councillor Baldock, that the minutes of the 13th of December 2018 are true and accurate and we received and endorsed by all present. All in favour? Anybody against? Ka pai. No matters arising, no amendments. Any declarations, conflicts of interest? Nothing, good. We'll be here. The business of the day, DC 38 quarterly monitoring report to February 2019, led by Meredina Murray, who will be out of here by 10 o'clock.
You're pushing it right along there?
Yeah, well, let's go, mate. Keep focused.
Tēnā koutou katoa, te hui, tēnei wā, kia koe te amana, me te tēpū, ka nui te mihi ki au koutou. So I have our quarterly monitoring report to February of this year, 2019. I will go through it Presume that you've all had a good read, and this is the quarterly report that we present where staff update their activities or their projects, etc. And as I say, I will just go through each of the pages, and if you've got any comments or questions on that, then we'll try and address them. Kia ora. So page, oh geez, I can't even see the page number. Page 20. This is to do with the relationships. Page 21.
Plans. Thank you. I see the update that's come through in regards to the hapu plans for and also the funding available. Is there any update here in regards to the review of current hapu management plans? Is there any progress report? Thank you.
As far as I know, at the moment we're concentrating on those who are yet to do a management plan, and that review will follow once the allocated funds for the management plans have been exhausted. And perhaps Kieran might be able to just give an update on some of the people that might be reviewing. I know that you've had requests to review, but these ones are still in progress. There's a number of them. Ngāti Ranginui, Ngāi Tarangi, Ngāti Kuku, Ngāti Kāhu ki Mangatawa, and Ngāti Ruahine. So they are yet to be basically progressed into the future, whether they're all reviews. The current ones that are under development are the first three, Ngā Pōtiki, who have completed, and Ngāti Hangarau, still in a draft, and Ngāti Hare, still in a draft. Can you add any more to that? No. So I think the answer at this stage, Irene, is that the people who haven't done a plan are kind of first up. They're the priority. The reviews will come next. And yeah. So there is the other mechanism for doing a management plan, and that's actually to go straight to the regional council. So the regional council has that funding. We had an allocated lot of funding to actually get everyone doing their own management plans, iwi hapu management plans. So we had an allocated amount, and we've been working on that over the years. You'll probably notice that year. But there's nothing to stop any of the hapu from going directly to the regional council to have a review on their existing management plan.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of view. Waitaha's position is that they haven't indulged outright into a iwi management plans because what they're doing is they're anticipating integrating the settlement with a plan. The purpose of that is to truncate any hearings that takes place, so that would go directly to the regional council, obviously. But just to give a background of that, integrating the settlement with a plan, is that when we negotiated with the Crown, we refused to accept apology from the Crown because we saw it was a remedy that was satisfied the Crown but not necessarily us. And as a consequence for what they call the sins of Hakaraia, which was headed in the claim, was that that we received for the sins of Hakaraia a $3 million education endowment, because even Waitaha were quite bleak about the history. They didn't know the history.
And the second thing was about $300,000 to correct the history of Waitaha. At the current point in time, we've got documents of all the sacred places from Otani Wainuku right down to the coastline. We've got all their names and historical accounts, and that would probably be highlighted at some point in time within probably the next 6-7 months. So what I'm saying is there may be opportunity to review some of the iwi management plans, that it may not be, that's including other iwi too, to have that opportunity. That's just
for that. Before you do say something, Kohi, I know you're quite used to this, but just want everybody, when they do speak, we have to speak like this into the mic, so those fellas in Te Puke and over there at Matata can hear us. Okay, so kia kaha, don't be shy.
Kia ora. Kia ora through you, Mr. Chair. E tuatahi e mihi ana. Kia koutou katoa tautoko tō mihi kia katoa mō tēnei hui. Tuatahi o tēnei tau, o tēnei rōpu, nō reira tēnā tātou katoa. Just regarding the question to Mererina regarding reviewing the current management plans, and I hear what you've said about it's not the priority of TCC, but if we want to progress that part of our management plans, we can go to the regional council, and that's fine. But I'm speaking on behalf of Ngāti Tapu. We have been asking for quite a while now for a review of our management plan. We've had our management plan now for a few years, and it's time we reviewed it. However, my point and then my question is as follows. My point is that we, as part of it, to do our review of our current management plan, we have to engage with TCC quite a bit, because it's mostly to do with Tauranga City Council, not with the regional council. And that's fine regarding funding. If we will manage that, but in terms of the work we will be engaging with TCC, can we then still fully engage with TCC staff and others in order to progress that process for us?
Kia ora, Irene.
Kia ora Mererina, thank you, and Puhi and Maru. Just in regards to my partai earlier, that was only not talking about the funding, but also the update of those reviews. Those hapu management plans have been in place for quite some time, and understanding that new plans have been developed throughout the Moana, and it is about the hapu coming into real line, but more so is how we take it from the development stage and being accepted into phase 2. And phase 2 was then working with the TCC staff and actually the implementation of their plan. It was meant to be a living document, but also in mindful tahapu, we do need to update them, but it's also taking us to that second phase because, as Pui mentions, that there is a heavy interaction that we do have with council, and some of those things to ensure that we have a smooth progression in regards to working within our community and within kaupapa for Tauranga City Council and hapu, there definitely needs still work to be done externally and internally. So that's the mahia that I talk about in review and actually in pushing us through to the next stage. Mindful that the priority goes to ones who haven't, but I just need to bring to the attention that those who have developed need to progress to the next stage. Kia ora.
Morena tātou. Just a couple of comments and maybe an opportunity around this. First comment is that for those who might not be connecting it. Some of this is coming because some of the hapu management plans were done really early and quite a long time ago, but when you've got a group of 17 iwi and hapu all at different levels of capability and capacity, that can sort of string out, so we end up in two different places. So as you've seen from Mererena, there's a number of those hapu and iwi plans that aren't completed, but then a number from other hapu that have been completed possibly 10 years ago. So that's part of the dilemma that we have. So the suggestion, and perhaps I can talk to Māori after this meeting about this, is whether or not it would be worth coordinating some of that, having a discussion at the Tangata Whenua Collective to say, you know, how many of these plans could be being progressed that have been put in place, and perhaps putting together at the Tangata Whenua Collective, putting together a submission to the annual plan process about how that might be managed to keep everybody sort of moving as best as we can.
Kia ora, thank you for that. Okay, so we're moving on to 21. There isn't anything else on that page. Page 22. '23.
So Chairman, if I may, just back to Moau, there it starts at the bottom of 21 and then the archaeological. I think it comes up in the report later, does it? We discuss it. If not, we do it now. There is some indications of a pretty big budget change for that work, and it's probably something we're going to have a broader discussion about, I think, rather than just at the committee, if other members thought it was worthy of doing that, because it's a considerable investment to keep that track or to reopen the track, and to be careful with how it's designed and what things are impacting on that cost. Some of informal discussions been occurring amongst elected members about it. So could I raise that and see if there's any discussion around that? I think we're talking getting up to something like $4 million now, aren't we? So it's getting, you know, pretty scary.
Okay, who can respond to that best?
Kia ora, all I can say at this stage is we'll certainly raise it with the team in there. I'm not sure who's the GM there at the moment, but probably Mark Smith and his team, and that is a conversation that needs to happen with his team, so we'll raise that as something to look at, and perhaps talk with you about it in the joint board, at the joint board level. Yep.
Kia ora. Yeah, I just want to perhaps flag that this is going to be, it's pretty big. It's going to take the whole communities, there's sort of opposition groups and people trying to make political capital and all the rest of it out of this. So just flagging, it's going to be a big issue. It's not small. So it's the whole community, and the subcommittee is really going to be an important part of that.
Kia ora, anō. Mererena, just the page, are you up to 23? Did you mention that? Okay. Regarding the bottom point of the museum, and your note in current update was the combined Kaumatua Forum at the end of January. The group asked that the museum project be put back on the LTP, and that is quite correct, but I feel that I need to just add a little bit more oomph to that, in that the whole, both the Kaumatua Forum and all the Tangata Whenua members who were present that day supported that. That was the first point I want to make. And secondly, the corridor that's already gone back around our hapu and iwi is saying what we've said in the last few years. We want a museum. and that we emphasise from the whole of Tauranga Moana, Hapu and Iwi that I know of. The forums that I've been present at, etc., when it's come up. So I just thought I'd add that to it. Kia ora. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Kia ora, Puhi, and might I suggest that again this would be a submission process from yourselves and the Kaumātua Forum to get it properly lodged into the system. Okay, so we've identified it here, but as I say, follow up with a submission to that effect. Kia ora.
Before you carry on, Maru, did you have your hand up? Okay, hui nani.
I just want to point out the emphasis on the transport strategy when it comes to the community, because it's highly important that the community knows what's happening in the transport area. Now, at one time I was on that regional transport strategy team, and we probably had the best spin doctors in the Bay of Plenty at that time, is hence the reason why we got the $450 million to pay for the Eastern Arterial. But at that time the buzz was that the port of Tauranga was Rome, and all roads will lead to Rome. And as a consequence, if you have a look at Shane Jones' offerings in the renaissance of the development of the Bay of Plenty, then you would find that these roads are going to be highly important. There could be land ports, there could be all those sort of things. But the public actually needs a simple way of explaining these road issues. Take, for instance, those people who want to use the university. There's likely to be a public service that will go from places like Te Puke, Pukehina and all that, that'll come around Welcome Bay Road and go to the university. These types of strategies needs to come from the wider community, but there needs to be a simple explanation as to the background of the transport and where the long-term development is occurring in terms of the development of the Bay of Plenty, because that's where Shane Jones' bucket of money is going. Shane Jones' bucket of money, my point of view, is it's an apology for what the Labour Party sold out in the 1980s. And that's a renaissance, a rebirth of those bush towns, Tokoro, Kawerau and Murupara and all those places, but the industries will be different. Renewed energy, hydroponics and all these sort of stuff will become important, so that the nutrients are not discharged into the waterways. New industries will take place. These are the importance of getting the right message on transport to the wider community. Just a hint.
Kia ora, Maru. Terry, Councillor Molloy.
Through the chair, to go back to the museum, I would certainly support the museum going back on the annual plan as a starting point, but I'm absolutely convinced that if we're going to get a museum in the next 10 years, it's going to have to be from the bottom up. It's going to have to be the community that is going to raise their voices and get the corporates, and I'm certain that there will be money there. And once the cry gets some momentum, we will get our museum, but it's going to have to come from the bottom up. Thank you.
Councillor Baldock.
Yeah, thank you. Just on that topic also, your resolution is that it be put back into the LTP. The LTP would be 2021, but there's nothing to stop you making a submission this year in the annual plan. But could I ask that you might consider in that submission making it very clear where Tangata Whenua want the museum, because in the last iteration that message got missed in the early stages, and so we ended up with rather a debate about where to put it. If you can make that clear to start with, perhaps then we can move forward knowing exactly what you desire, and elected members will make the ultimate decision, but at least the communication will be clear. Thank you.
Kia ora, Meredina.
Okay, so we're on to page 24. 25. 26. Oh. Ari.
Kōrero. Puhi.
Sorry, anō, kia ora. Page 24, Southern Pipeline Project overall, etc. Now I know this report sets out that certain aspects of the project are being worked on and have been completed at what stage, but I do recall at one of our informal meetings last year, and I think it was the meeting in, off the top of my head, in October, the informal one at Hunga Hunga Tōroa Marae. The hokainga of both Ngāi Tūkarangi and Ngāti Tapu raised a question about possible extensions relating to connections to the pipeline via the well, as an add-on, if you like, in terms of the sub-project of hooking up the two marae, the school and the houses in between. That's just to summarise it quickly. There were other sections of the community adjacent to that sub-project which put forward the questions of when and how could an extension be put into action in terms of any other houses being connected. I do recall from the presenters of council that there was a will to do some sort of a report, if I recall. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and if that is so, where does that sit at the moment? Kia ora.
Kia ora Puhi. Yeah, that was raised. It was at the informal meeting that was held at Hunga Hunga Tōroa, and at the time we had some discussions about how to respond to that and what to provide, and there was some communication sent out around the nature of the scheme that's there at the moment and the capacity of it. Off the top of my head, it was something like it could accommodate up to 90 houses, and I think 62 odd had opted in. So at that point in time there was capacity for further houses to connect, but also reflecting across that Matapihi and its Matapihi land use plan earlier had expressed a very clear desire to remain rural, and so the type of system that was put in there to accommodate the marae zones, the marae rural zones, was a low pressure system, and so that was the capacity of it at that time. It's been raised at a number of forums that I've been at in and around Matapihi recently as well, so I've reinforced that and also really had discussions with the community around the likelihood of that 30 houses, you know, happening in a short period, and generally the response back has been not sure that there would be a requirement for more than 30 houses worth of capacity right at the moment. So in terms of capacity, it probably aligns all of those different things. It supports the fact of remaining rural. It's that low pressure system to accommodate the current project, but has some capacity for going forward. If the Matapihi community has plans that are close by or imminent that there might be more than 30 houses going to go up in the next wee while, probably begs the discussion to be opened up again. But at this stage, that's the update on the current system and the ability to accommodate further connection.
Kia ora, Pui, you can respond to that.
Respond. Thank you, Carlo. And I totally understand what you just said, and I take that into account when I put the point across today with regard to that difference between the 67, I think, or 63 rather, up to 90, and it being a low pressure system, I understand that fully, but it was to do with those additional, not to do a big stage 2, so to speak. It was just, is there something that could fill that that number, if you like, and if so, where and how? That was all. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora, Carlo. You're right. Okay.
Oh, I mean, just the same comment there. There's availability there. It's just if people just would like to connect up, they just have to apply and do that. Unless you're asking, is it funded? Which is a different question.
Well, we'll move on quickly then. Talking funding, Irene, you have something to say?
Sorry. To the Māori housing development, I just want to acknowledge the work that has gone on and is continuing. I just want to add in regards to the support in regards to Papakainga Development and Māori Land Trust is externally, I think this is working well in coming together with our communities and our Māori Land Trust. One thing I do want to highlight, and that's from a personal point of view and coming through a council in regards from Papakainga stages into building consent stages, is that we also look at the process internally to actually help those who have progressed from Papakainga now into consent process. In regards to that, is actually finding those within council who are able and are fey with Papakainga. I think it is great that we have the Kaitaka Wainga unit that is there to support Māori coming through the door in regards to building consent, but I do want to advocate if people do not know in regards to the support of the Kaitaka Wainga unit and whether that's their role in regards to helping individuals, Māori coming through the building consent, that's their role. I do believe that when we come through the doors as Māori with development in Papakainga to build, that we actually have staff that know who we are and what we're talking about with Māori land and Papakainga development. So, kia ora.
Councillor Moloi.
Just go back a wee step, page 25, the Environmental Mitigation Enhancement Fund. I see that expecting a report to council by the end of 2019. I take it from that we're still struggling to achieve an agreement on that fund, how it should be distributed. Could someone give us an update on that?
Kia ora, no. Yeah, I mean, it's for those of you who have been involved in that process, understand I think they've had a few cracks of it before my time, 09 and 17 and a couple of other goes at it. We've had a recent workshop with Ngāi Tarangi Nui and Ngā Pōtiki, held out at Papamoa. 2 workshops ago for that, we encouraged those 3 hapu and iwi to appoint an independent facilitator to encourage them to put forward a proposal to the Wastewater Committee about how it might be advanced. Unfortunately, the people that they preferred for the facilitation weren't available, and then they've asked me to do that. So we did have another follow-up workshop about a month ago, and it's now with me to then draft up the results from that. Without giving you too much of the detail before it's drafted for you, I can say that quite a bit of progress was made there. It was quite a frank discussion around some of the sticky points at earlier times, and I still need to finish that drafting to be able to put it back to you, but there will be something to you a lot quicker than the end of 2019, and then it'll be over to the joint debate between those groups and those councillors on the Wastewater Committee to find out how possible it is to actually get some movement on the distribution of those funds and I guess the start of some of the projects that would make a difference out there. But I think we've sort of done a lot of hard work that's been very delayed, but we're probably at the tipping point now where it should get some legs on it.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Back to you, Meredina.
Okay, so we're now up to page 27.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, just the Emerald Shores SHA, can we just get clarity on whether that's going to be affected by the announcement now that they're not extending? Did it get in time to, because it didn't get approval, it was lodged. Do we know if that one's going to still proceed?
I'll have to put that back to the project team who are dealing with it. To be quite honest, I can't answer that question at all.
CEO will give us a response. Thanks.
Through the chair. Look, my understanding is if they have been lodged, that they will be processed. Yeah.
Right, page 28. '29. And lastly, 30, page 30.
Thank you, Meredina. Oh, you've got a question? Sorry.
Yeah, just. Yeah, thank you, Ikaka. Just referring to page 30, under the Welcome Bay and Ohauiti planning study. 2 or 3 things there, just to let you know that it will be coming to us in March. And in fact, both Councillor Malloy and I, being the representatives out that area, we've got an informal meeting with the staff next week. We'll also be discussing not only just what's noted here, but also a little bit on the supermarket issue. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. It's a bit of a sensitive point to many out there, and I still get many phone calls with that issue. So just to let you know that that will be part of it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes that report.
Thank you, Meredina. So we're going to call for a move and a seconder. The DC 38 Quarterly Monitoring Report to February 2019 has been tabled, discussed, read and endorsed. Irene Walker, mover, seconder Councillor Malloy. All in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Kia ora. Our next report is the Tangata Whenua Collective Update, presented by Puhirake Ihaka. Kia ora, Puhi.
Kia ora, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is my pleasure to and privilege to present the Tangata Whenua Collective's report to this committee. And also, firstly, I'd just like to say that I welcome my colleagues on the Tangata Whenua Collective reps here today to add to and add any of their comments that they would like to either at each stage or at the end of my report. So it's more of a collective presentation. However, having said that, I now turn your attention to my written report, and you'll see there that this report in essence covers most of it is covering our prioritised projects for this year, so that we can present to this committee what the collective is going to be working through. There is some additional information that I have left in front of you, headed the Tangata Whenua Collective Work Programme 2019. That is just a short summary, and I will speak where appropriate to some of those dates and occasions. So, first of all, just taking you through the report itself. I'm not going to read the report to you. I'm sure you've had sufficient time to go through it yourselves, but just to talk to some of those items. Right of first refusal, we spent the whole of last year thrashing it out through this committee and through the council committee, and we're at a stage where we are waiting for council to make a decision and give us the answer, basically. And so we're in your hands on that one. Number 2, naming of streets and parks.
Sorry. Carlos wants to respond to you first.
Yep. Sorry, Pui, just an update that I've just had confirmed this morning, just in regards to that. Just a heads up that report's due to be presented on April the 16th. So that's where it's confirmed into the agenda.
Just can I, through the chair, just make one point on that? While it's fresh. Thank you for that, Koreraki, but just one thing I do want to note, that no matter what decision we do make, it still has to go out for the community's consultation. That's very important.
If I may clarify, so is that decision in April for council that it then goes out for consultation, or is the consultation occurring before that?
No, I understand the April 16th decision or the recommendation will be that it's sent out for consultation at that point.
I shall continue. To you, Mr. Chair. Kia ora. Number 2, naming of streets and parks initiative. This is a very important one that we have put on our action plan, and we would like to engage with council in terms of, and I just want to talk to a few points on that, because you will have noticed in the workshop program that we're dealing with this one up front in February and March, and so it's quite relevant at the stage that we've already started through our meetings of the collective and through a workshop that we had. And the things that came out of that workshop, those 2 workshops, were basically, we asked ourselves, and this is a very, very short summary of it, does the collective want to do something about naming, in terms of naming of places, of things which I'll cover with Māori names? And the answer was unanimously yes. What are we naming? We're naming streets, parks. It's relating to streets, parks, buildings, amenities, wāhi tapu within the city, beaches, laneways, etc. Why do we want to do that? Well, basically, it's to acknowledge our history and our tikanga, to bring back the location and history of our historic sites, a chance to tell our stories and our narratives. It encapsulates the activities that were undertaken in those areas and provides a local reference. It is telling the history, in summary, of both Māori and Pākehā, Tangata Whenua and those who have come later. So that is a true partnership of us both. So we'd like to enter into that discussion at the earliest opportunity between the Tangata Whenua Collective and Council through all our forums. Moving on to number 3. This is a fairly quick one. We have, through our strategic plan, one of our action plans was to rename our forum. And we have now decided, we have made a resolution that we would like to change our name from Tauranga Moana Tangata Whenua Collective to the Mana Whenua Tauranga Moana Partnership. The Mana Whenua being those tangata whenua of Tauranga Moana who belong here, hence the Mana Whenua aspect of it. The partnership, Tauranga Moana Partnership, is between us and the council, but it is also between us and the community, represented by council, and we bring everybody into that partnership. There is a second stage of this is to develop a tohu, a logo for us, and we just need to do that to complete the action plan. And of course there is one specific recommendation there, that the name change be endorsed by this committee. So I'm not quite sure how the standing orders covers that part of the process, whether you do it now at the end. That's I leave it to your hands, Mr. Chair. So that's that one. Number 4, we have, that has been a hot topic last year for us in terms of adopting the Te Aranga design principles introduced to the collective in the latter part of last year, and we have fully supported it. It lines perfectly up with our charter, especially our values and our principles relating that. I made a submission to the full council back in, I think it was August, September last year, regarding this particular kaupapa. Number 5, the elections coming up this year. We would like to support as best as we can of putting a representative through the boards, through the standard system of the elections in Tauranga Moana. And we feel that it would assist us greatly if by any chance we could get a Māori in one of the seats within the 11 for TCC in the upcoming elections. Number 6, affordable housing development is something that has always been on our list of priorities for as far back as I can remember, and we obviously want to continue that, and along with that some of those other points raised at the end, development contribution fees, which I note has gone most of the way through council's processes anyway, and for Papakainga development and resource consent process, which we are still waiting for that to be finalised between the joint arrangement of the 3 councils. Plan changes, we want to engage with those processes as they come up during the year. And the final clause is basically a general one in terms of setting out the things that we will continue to do, operate with and engage with council. Regarding the collective work program handout, you'll see there for yourselves that is the date from January to December. The ones with the asterisk marked on the months are either the formal or informal standing committee hui. Example, February is marked because today we're meeting in our formal capacity, etc. Those are the topics and kaupapa of each of stages that we want to work through with our prioritised action list. Through that, we are going to work through our own meetings, our workshops, and with this committee when it occurs, and also with the submission process with council and dealing with council staff. That's my report, Mr. Chairman, and if any of my colleagues would like to add, or I welcome any questions. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.
Just a comment on the naming of the streets and and the where am I? The Tauranga Moana Murray design principles. Just a reminder that they will have huge tourism benefits if we move towards that way, and obviously Tauranga is a booming tourism economy. And I'll also like to add that the museum would help that along as well with the tourism benefits. So thank you.
Thank you, Pudi.
Just into regards for many of these things, I mean the first right of refusal of all these aspirations for Tangata Whenua, yes, some of them would need to go to public for consultation, and it's just that, consultation. The final decision needs to come from council, just like the museum. It may need your decisions are influenced by public, but your decisions are your decisions. The only one that's really up for consultation is the TCC election, which has an effect, which the public do have an effect on if it goes to, what do you call it, where they vote on it?
The new voting system.
Referendum. And that's as I see it, that's the only one that really affects what a council, you, the elected members, can do. And it takes strong leadership, because first right of refusal, in my opinion, and we've been through this before as Tangata Whenua, where public opinion will be against what Tangata Whenua aspirations are, really. And I'm just saying that if the leadership is up to it, then it's up to the leadership of this town.
Kia ora. Okay. Any further questions? Terry, Molloy?
Just if through the chair, if I may, in support of Pine, it does require leadership, but we also need to take our community with us. It's part of, I think, what leadership is. But part of that is understanding our history and our past, and having a thorough grounding in it. And to that end, I'd like to pick up on what you mentioned before about the treaty document. When I was over in the regional council's rooms in Waikato, they had the original treaty document up on the wall, and it was quite powerful. It was the one that's been sort of partially destroyed. But for those that have really studied our history and understand it, it was quite a moving moment to see that up there, and to understand that the regional council over there understood the issues. And to me, it was quite powerful. And I'd like us to have a discussion sometime around doing something similar in Tauranga. I know it's going to take a bit of convincing for some, but it's a discussion I think that's worthwhile and could be quite powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I think there's a wall just waiting for that to happen over there.
Just
Murray?
Yeah, just to comment on that first right of refusal. One thing I found is that to get the historical background correct before making that decision of first right of refusal. And I'll give you a classic example of that. There was about 3,000 acres taken into Tumu by the Crown for an education institution. that 3,000 acres was leased at that time by Fords. Now, Fords had the land for about 30 odd years. In about 1952, there was a special legislation, special act that went through Parliament at that time where he was able to purchase the land. Now, what he wanted to do was sell the land to Baines. So what he done was bought the land off the Crown. It's now no responsibility to why they took it in the first place, and then sold it to Baines, and that was the big hoo-ha and problems that we're having at Tumu. It's that whole background. Now there should have been a first right of refusal because the land wasn't used for what it was taken for, and that's in the Public Works Act anyway, or was in the Public Works Act. And the other thing is reserves. When land is taken for reserves, by councils, and not used for what it was intended. These are some of the backgrounds that needs to be, the facts that need to be put up before even pondering about or negotiating first rights of refusal. That's the fairest way out in dealing with it, in my view.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. I'll just with regards to that, I'll just remind us, the RFR discussion, and acknowledge absolutely that history. But the RFR discussion is focused in on disposed property. So, for example, Public Works Act would take its Public Works Act process, and the same with Reserves Act will take its Reserves Act process, and those are that will come out more in that discussion once the report is received. But absolutely acknowledge that history, Maru. I just wanted to take an opportunity today, just seeing the report there from Puirake, just to remind us some of the journey that we've been on, and it's probably appropriate for those who may be watching or those who may look at this record to pick this up. As that probably a year ago we started on a journey of having some workshops designed to enhance the partnership between Tauranga City Council and Tangata Whenua. And when we started running those workshops, it was more about people getting to know each other, getting to know those two different worldviews, for the purpose of having more discussion around how do we work better together. And I think we had great success with that. What I like about today, Puhi, is when you look at the report, it's very focused in on being clear about the priorities of the Tangata Whenua Collective. And when we had those first workshops, there was something, I don't know if some of you recall, but we broke up into groups to say, what does the Tangata Whenua Collective expect of the council and the councillors, but also what do the councillors expect and need from Tangata Whenua Collective. And one of the things I remember from that is seeking clarity and seeking an understanding of how we're actually going to move that forward. And when I see a work program like this, that I don't recall seeing that before, I think what Tangata Whenua Collective are sharing today is not only their priorities, but when you as councillors are probably going to hear more about them. So when I look at that, it's great to know the year started off with a planning workshop. I think it gives a lot of confidence that there is a plan to how the year is going to progress. Tangata Whenua Collective, in the last two reports have talked about the importance of naming for them, but I think the key for the naming workshops is that, what does that mean? Now, for the councillors at the moment, you might hear that generic statement, but actually Tangata Whenua Collective need to be clear on what are they looking to do and how is that going to enhance the city? How is that going to be good for everybody, the wider community? When you look at the Te Aranga workshops, they're workshopping that to have some clarity for Tauranga Moana about those design principles and how they can be incorporated as Tauranga grows and develops. So if you look up at, and everybody's talking about it at the moment, the wonderful job they've done on the Waikato University campus, and that has absolutely incorporated those principles. So the opportunity to translate that across to some of the big projects that will be led by the council and by Māori and coming into the future, it's going to be really helpful to have some clarity around those. Elections, you know, just to know that there's a passion to try and have participation and enhance through there. The plan changes. So just reminding us all that we've had all the legislation changes in the RMA about te mana whakahono, but actually our protocols stand us in good stead with regard to that. And this to me is te mana whakahono in action, is saying that tangata whenua are looking at those plan changes. They're getting a presentation early next month, I think, to start the conversation to build up towards those workshops. So just to provide some clarity on some of these systems that are being put in place to increase the quality of the feedback that's going to come through to a group like this. Same with Māori housing. Māori housing is not a new topic, but what you're seeing on here is in September and October, you're going to hear more from the Tangata Whenua Collective about what Māori housing means for them, and specifically, as Irene raised earlier on, what sorts of things could we work together on to try and unhinge that and try and enable it to thrive and for utilisation to increase. November, you can see there the support being offered to the elected members around an induction. And we've talked, I know John Robson in earlier forums has raised, you know, give us some education around that. So there's going to be some focus in there to try and assist and provide that support. This looks to me like partnerships starting to come to fruition. So I think also some of the commentary that the councillors here today is some of the Tangata Whenua Collective members just saying we're going to be having a leap of faith into a stronger and closer partnership, and we need to all be along on the ride. So I'm confident. There's been excellent discussions, you know, in the build up to this, but in 2019 it looks like an opportunity to make that step forward, albeit elections and all that sort of jazz is going to be all in and around the place, but the opportunity is there. So just want to acknowledge that work, Puhirake and the Tangata Whenua Collective. That's great. And I think the benefit of the councillors in those early workshops saying to the Tangata Whenua Collective, this is what we need from you. And when we see it come through, it's still got to, the work's still got to be done, but at this stage I'm feeling really encouraged that this clarity is being shared between the two partners. Kia ora.
Through the chair for me.
Kia ora, Councillor Malloy.
Carlo, thank you for that. Just a question. New elected members, do you know something that I don't? And maybe if you do, it may save me a lot of money by not standing. Thank you.
I think it's a great amendment that you've suggested to the work program that perhaps it should be elected member induction.
Kia ora, Irene.
Kia ora no. Thank you, Carlo, for the, your kōrero. I just want to acknowledge too the kōrero that's happened, but also just to enhance some of that kōrero that we've had in regards to our name, especially the kupu partnership, rangatiratanga, and just picking up on Stu in regards to some of the processes that we need to work through as partners. Sometimes this referendum word gives me the shivers, and that's because the work that goes on internally is one where we come together, where we're able to develop our understanding between us. But one of our biggest challenges is that of our community, and that in the role of the EMs and Tangata Whenua in that partnership, and how we actually educate our community so they are on the same understanding that we are in this room today. The thing is that scares me the most in going out there is that they have no idea, and that they will make a decision on something they know nothing about. And for us, that is one of our biggest challenges that I'd like in our workshops that we're developing over the year, is that sometimes within those workshops that the EMs are able to come in as well, is actually how do we help you in our community and helping them to understand the treaty, but also to understand the mahi that we're doing within council. Just in saying that as well, I really want to acknowledge not only our members of the Tangata Whenua Collective, but also those of the EMs, the staff, and especially our Kaitaka Wainga unit for the support along the way. So, kia ora koutou.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Irene. Ia o mia te kia koe Carla. I want to thank Olive Carla as well, and it's, without sounding derogatory, it's good to have a spy in the camp, you know. But Carla's been instrumental in getting our Tangata Whenua collective on a pathway forward that's positive. It's been around for a while. Everybody's enthusiastic and committed to the best of their ability and capabilities. But when you have somebody with the skills of Carla in the background, just give them a little bit of direction and sharing the thinking of both camps, and it's good that we have made this progress. So I want to acknowledge you, Carla, for your work and the way you've been able to blend and help with the issue of Matapi, with the council and the pipeway, the waterway, the waste, and all that things that's happened there. So we look forward to more good things. We live in a democracy, you know, and so everybody's got the right to say whatever they want to think. And so we've got an election coming up where all sorts of people are going to stand, put their hand up, and we had an example this morning. There was a lady here that's passionate about what she believes in, but whether anybody else agrees with it, that's another thing. But she has the right to put her hand up and come and say, I'm going to represent the Māoris. But whether the Māoris wanted to represent them or not is another thing. But that's the world we live in. That's the rules we live under. And so we, aroha atu, aroha mai, so we look after each other, and hopefully at the end of the day we come to a place where we have a better understanding of what our community needs. And we are a multi-ethnic community today. It's not just us Māori and you Europeans. But when you look at who's coming into the country, where they come from, and we're not too sure what they carry in their little baskets when they do arrive, but it's going to be of benefit for our nation or what. You know, so somebody's got to try and sift that out, and that's part of your role. And so, kia kaha, kia mai. But to carry on with our program, I just want to move and a seconder that we have received this report from the Tangata Whenua Collective. We've read it, we've heard it, we've kicked it around, and we're quite happy to endorse it. So we have Pene on the right, Pene McLeod, mover, Councillor Calvin Clout, seconder, all in favour. Anybody against? Carried unanimously. Okay, late item on the table, recommendation that the name change be endorsed by this committee. The Tangata Whenua, where is it? Sorry. That the name be changed from Tangata Whenua Collective to Mana Whenua or Tauranga Moana Partnership. Somebody want to move that way? Moved by Larry Baldock and seconded by Calvin Clout, that name be accepted and endorsed. All in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Thank you. Our last item is about the next meeting. So it's going to be in April. So I'm going to nominate Ngāi Marae to have that meeting, because I believe there's some councillors that are going to be prowling around up our roundabout up there in the next couple of months. Councillors and the road NZTA still haven't fine-tuned their little place up there, so we're having some visits from them, and we'll be discussing what needs to be done and what they can't do up there. So we'll endorse Haideni for that. And before closing the meeting, just want to acknowledge anybody that took the time to sit down at your busy day and watch this meeting in progress. This is initial viewing, and so if you have taken the time to look at this video, then it tells me that you're interested in what's happening in your community. So we just want to acknowledge you, whatever part of the community you're in, whatever social standing, whatever rank you hold, and we say thank you for tuning in. Come back again in another couple of months' time. That's when our next hui will be in here. So mihi atu kia tātou katoa. No late items. So I now declare the meeting closed and hand it over to you, Puhi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And kia ora tātou. Just before I give our closing karakia, I've got to mention at the end of my report, but it was just a very informal item to say, normally at this time of the year, we have an annual Council versus Tangata Whenua collective 9-hole golf tournament at Omanu Golf Course at Bayfair. And the time has come again, Mr. Granger. So I think you and I better get our heads together and do our traditional battle between the two of us sometime in March before the twilight zone closes, i.e., they have a twilight season. So just putting that challenge out there again, reminding us, so all in this room are welcome to attend and play, so dust off the old golf clubs and golf shoes and those things you drive around in, and have a bit of fun on a Friday afternoon. On that note,
I hope all the councils will get their golf carts checked out before they take them out onto the course.
Well, they need to drive them from here, depot here, over to Omanu Golf Course.
But we want the Customs Department to check their golf carts.
Yeah. Can I respond to that, Mr. Chair?
Kia ora.
Thank you, Puraki. Absolutely no excuses, and I think it's definitely on the ball if you can get hold of, like you've done in the past, Omanu Golf Club, and the lady or the gentleman there that runs the course, and I'm sure that you can do the same as what you did. And I've no promises as regards to the main prize being the trip over to Canada like I did last year. So, but I'm sure that I can attend and squeeze out of the mayor's pockets for some little trophies. And the elected members, each and every one of you here, I want more support from you guys because I haven't had in the past. So I'm sure Mr. Baldock and Mr. Mason and Mr. Clout and Mr. Malloy will be there for sure. So thanks again, and look forward to it.
And the CEO. Kia ora. Thank you. And on that happy note, I'll close our hui. Nō reira, kei no tātou. E tō mātou nui te rangi ki a tapu toingo. E pāia whakawhira ana mātou ki a koe. Mō tō manaakitanga ki a mātou. I runga te kaupapa o te rā. Mō ngā whitiwhiti kōreroa wanganui I a tātou mō ngā take o te kaupapa nei. Nō reira ki a tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou ariki ahu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhi ngā tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, āke, āmene. Kia ora tātou.